People First podcast is a show presented by people with learning disabilities for our friends and community. We talk about issues that are important to us and interview interesting people to find out new information. This is our way to make a difference and have our voices heard.
What is cerebral palsy? Are there different types?
Cerebral palsy is a neurological disorder that affects movement and muscle tone due to brain injury or damage to the way the brain forms before, during, or after birth. Cerebral palsy is not a single disorder. It is a group of lifelong conditions that vary in severity, symptoms, and causes. It does not get worse over time, but may change as the person grows. There is no cure. Cerebral palsy can also affect other functions, such as speech, vision, hearing, learning, and behavior. Some people with cerebral palsy may have learning disabilities, epilepsy, or other health problems. There are different types of cerebral palsy. I have the most severe form, cerebral palsy quadriplegia. It affects all my limbs, and all my body. I have some stiffness to my limbs, and I can also go floppy. My cerebral palsy affects me physically, but does not affect my cognition. The condition is so varied. Some people are only affected on one side of their body, or on one limb for example. Even though there are certain names for the different types of cerebral palsy, each one can still affect people so differently. The person will know themselves and their needs best, and it is always best to ask them what support they need.
It's a lifelong condition that affects movement and coordination. There are 4 different types and different levels. It affects everyone differently. There is spastic, ataxic, dyskinetic, and mixed cerebral palsy. It can affect the whole body, one side, just the legs, etc.
How does it feel to have cerebral palsy?
I was born with cerebral palsy, so it is all I have known. I don't know how it would feel to not have cerebral palsy. I am also deaf, and use AAC to communicate. I am very proud of myself and my cerebral palsy. I am happy with who I am. I like to be unique.
For me, cerebral palsy feels achy and sometimes painful. The pain can vary from day to day for me. One good thing is every day is different.
I'll be very palsy affect your
I am dependent on PAs to provide round-the-clock support to meet all my needs. They support me with getting dressed, eating, personal cares, cooking, cleaning, as well as supporting me with my work projects and volunteering here at People First Keighley Craven. I cannot walk, so use an electric wheelchair. I benefit from regular physio and hydrotherapy to help keep my body in a good posture and moving as it should do. I cannot speak, so I use a communication aid, which I type on what I would like to say, and the machine says it for me. I am also deaf, and wear a cochlear implant. I use lip reading and British Sign Language. Children with cerebral palsy are at risk for hearing loss. Cerebral palsy can cause numerous other associated conditions. Children with cerebral palsy must be screened early for hearing loss to benefit from early interventions. I went to mainstream school as I believe that all students should have the same opportunities. I would not change this, but it was challenging for me. I try to not let cerebral palsy affect my life too much. I still do the things that I want to in life. I just require some support to do those things.
For me, I feel like I'm still learning how cerebral palsy affects me. I was born with it and sort of diagnosed as a baby, but I was very mild. Because of this, I flew under the radar, I missed some of my milestones and was a floppy baby. I am also completely deaf in one ear and mildly in the other. Despite the diagnosis, nothing was ever mentioned again. I only truly found out that I had cerebral palsy by a discharge letter after being in hospital. This was when I was in my early 20s. I have lots of other issues and there wasn't enough room on the discharge form, so the hospital picked and chose which of my conditions to put on it, and there it was, cerebral palsy. I was confused as I'd never seen that or heard it mentioned. I thought it was wrong. Eventually, through looking, I found out that I actually did have cerebral palsy. It explained a lot. I find my whole left side is weaker. It's also my deaf side. My muscles are weaker on that side, so I get more aches and pains, plus fatigue. For me, I struggle with walking. I can do it, and do walk around at home, but when going further, I use a power chair.
How is cerebral palsy different from other conditions, such as eye learning disability?
Some people with cerebral palsy do have associated learning needs. Cerebral palsy is a series of muscle and movement disorders that doesn't affect a person's intelligence on its own. However, many children with cerebral palsy have some form of cognitive impairment due to a coexisting condition. Some common coexisting conditions include attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, autism, poor hearing, poor vision, language and communication difficulties, emotional and behavioral struggles. The Foundation for People with Learning Disabilities estimates that 45% of children with cerebral palsy have a learning disability. I do not have a learning disability, but I do have complex communication needs that can be mistaken for a learning disability if I do not have the right support to ensure I understand what is being communicated. It is easy for me to miss a lot of communication. Some people are quick to judge me because I cannot speak and use a wheelchair.
What verbal makes someone with cerebral no, with cerebral palsy?
The level of support someone with cerebral palsy needs will be varied according to their needs. Some people's cerebral palsy might not affect them much, if at all. Some people might just need a little bit of support, and other people, such as myself, need full support at all times in order to live an independent life. I feel I live a great life. I live in my own bungalow independently, with support from a team of PAs who work on a rota system, mornings, days, evenings and sleep shifts. I feel that my PAs empower me to do what I want, when I want. It is important to say that I am in control of my care. I lead my own life, but I just need support to enable me to do so.
Some people may need support from health places, such as speech and language therapist, occupational therapist, physiotherapist, etc. I see a physiotherapist now, and he's been giving me exercises to try help muscle cramps I get and strengthen muscles in my legs and back. I'm only just learning now what things I need to keep me at a good level.
Do you have any stories where your disability has made things difficult for you?
Growing up, I was part of a large busy family. I was one of 6 children. I used to see my siblings go to sports clubs and dancing, but I could not go as they were not accessible for me. This felt frustrating. I went to a sports club for people with disabilities, but I didn't like it because I didn't feel like I fitted in. However, I did not feel jealous of my brothers and sisters. I was happy for them. I am who I am. Things are becoming more accessible now. I have found a great inclusive dance group, which I love. I never used to be able to go to my friend's house for sleepovers. This was annoying. But we got over this by my friends coming to my house instead. I also have to spend my life finding and recruiting PAs. This is a job in itself. It is tiring and exhausting. Being your own boss is challenging. I have been lucky to travel the world. I have required full support from my PAs to do this. Travel can be very difficult for me. So much to think about and plan, and risk assess. It is particularly challenging going to countries in poverty. They are not at all accessible for my wheelchair. But they are the countries that I really want to experience. I also have a funny story to tell you. When I was 5, I got my first electric wheelchair. I took it out for a drive for the first time near my house. I crashed into a car nearby. Whoops. My mom left them a note to explain. She blamed it on my disability. Ha ha.
I remember when I was at primary school in year 5, my classmates were off to do bicycle awareness course, but I hadn't progressed into cycling on 2 wheels yet. I wasn't allowed to go. I could only ride a tricycle at that point due to balance and coordination. It was hard watching my classmates go out. I just stayed inside watching them from the window. I've also been bullied in the past for being different, and I've experienced other hard things too.
What dreams help you when you face problems?
I would say that having some great PAs to support me through problems really helps. I also have great family support. It is also important for me to always plan ahead for future events. Plan, and plan some more. This helps to prepare for the challenges I might experience.
When I have faced problems, I've always loved animals. I find them relaxing to be around, and somehow they just understand, despite not verbally saying anything. They don't judge, and they are genuine. I found taking my time and going at my pace makes me feel less stressed and anxious. Having my weighted shoulder pad helps too. This is more for my autism. Also knowing there's someone there if I need help.
What advice do you have for someone else with CP?
I would say you know your body best and what you can do and what you need a hand with. I would also be interested in advice myself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for inviting me on the podcast.
Remember to comment, like, share on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. You can find us by searching for the People First podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.